Throughout history, there have been cities that have changed everything. Venice dominated trade in the 1400s. New York revolutionized finance in the 1800s. And San Francisco reinvented technology in the 1900s. Today, there's a new frontier city emerging, and according to PitchBook 2024, is growing faster than any of the others ever did. Dubai, a fishing village that became the next great frontier city. So how did they build a global business hub from scratch? Is this the world's biggest startup success story? Is this the place to be an entrepreneur of the future?
This is an incredibly relevant episode right now for what's just happened and what we just recorded on the show last week, which is the UK budget, which made the UK a lot less interesting to start a business. And it's made the whole environment less exciting for those in business and those international entrepreneurs coming here. Now, complete counter to that is, it must be the same for you, but everyone I'm speaking to right now, all my entrepreneur friends are saying, should we move the business to Dubai? It is a life-changing experience. I make so much more money. The connectivity is amazing. The freedom's amazing. The healthcare is amazing. I'm not seeing any downsides. So I know you love the Burj Khalifa. Have you been to Dubai?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, at the beginning of the series, the first interview we did was with Daniel Priestley.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk to him about, teach us about entrepreneurship, teach us about business, talk to us about your expertise. And, he pretty much just indoctrinated you and I to be down a rabbit hole on Dubai that we weren't really expecting. And that was our first interview together.
Yeah.
That's how this relationship essentially started, was someone who knows a lot about business and the opportunities talking to us about why Dubai makes more sense currently than the UK. And it was also dependent on the budget. And then obviously, like you say, last week we just had the budget. It has been a bit of a disaster for certainly the business environment in the UK.
Yeah.
If the point of a country is to attract talent, to suck up talent, as Daniel Priestley said, you want to suck up talent, and you want to show that you're the best place to build and create and innovate so that global talent is excited to come to you like Britain has done over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Someone will always be there to try and take your crown.
Yeah.
And that's what Dubai is currently doing, right? They're saying that we are a place where we're giving out golden visas. We've got an amazing infrastructure. We're bam smack in the middle of, Europe and Asia, obviously. So quite well suited to multiple different time zones. It's starting to get more and more compelling. And people like you and me who were like previously like, no, we're turning our heads.
And it's interesting. We're probably mid-ground right now because we have families and we have pretty strong roots in the UK. However, if I'm 27 doing what I was doing at 27, running a small but fast-growing company, let's say I didn't have a wife or I didn't have roots, I would have moved.
I do think there's an angle here, which is like, what are you looking for from a city? So the reason I'm so connected to London and the reason I love London so much, my mum is, she speaks multiple languages. She's a historian. She loves history. So I've grown up loving history. London has an insane history. It's one of the most culturally relevant, interesting places in the entire world, full stop. Dubai's pitch is very different. In 1,000 years, people will look back on the history and culture of Dubai that started now, relatively speaking, in historical terms, in the last 100 years. And I was one of the first citizens of the great city of the future, which I think is a really interesting positioning. So when I went to Dubai, I had a lot of people telling me, I went for business meetings, I went for investment meetings in my last company. And a lot of people be like, "Ugh, you won't like it. It's not going to be for you. It's hot. It's there's just big buildings. You're from London. You won't like it." And usually that's a red flag to me. Anyone tells me I won't like something, I'm like, "Well, we'll see about that." I landed and I was like, "What's not to like?" Anyone who has admiration for the sheer genius and the ambition that goes into engineering and architecting those buildings. Those designs, that skyline is beautiful. Those buildings are stunning. And it's a very different kind of visual masterpiece. But I think it's really dishonest to pretend that it's not a masterpiece. It is insane. People drew that on paper, and then they literally, through sheer will and ingenuity from a swamp wasteland, managed to create those insane buildings, including, as you mentioned, the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, which I've been to the top of, taken a photo. You can see, you feel like the whole Middle East are on there. It is unreal.
Yeah.
What do you think? Have you been? Have you been to the Burj Khalifa? Have you been to Dubai?
I have been, yeah. And I think, for me, I actually thought it was awesome. I just thought the whole experience was so cool. And the network there was crazy for what I'm doing. And I just thought I had an enormous amount of fun. And probably if left to my own devices, as my wife knows, we would move there. Not forever, but I would move there for 5 years, because why wouldn't I try and have 5 totally transformational years of my life? Because I can always come back. And I think that's what's so smart in how they've designed what they have designed in terms of like policies and attraction is you can get super ambitious people who come from Europe, the States, whatever, UK, and we can go there 5, 6, 7 years. We can build there, build infrastructure, create jobs, create outcomes, and then obviously can leave.
I think this is the key point.
Yeah.
If you are going to design a city like a startup founder would design a product.
Yeah.
So then let's take Dubai as a product. You would design 3 things. You'd want to make sure that you've designed an easy way in for people, an easy way out for people, and then most importantly, a reason to stay.
Yeah.
Because that kind of like the freedom, you know, the ability to know that I can get there easily, but also not feel like you're trapped. So in some countries, you're like, I get there easily, but am I ever leaving? So therefore, I'm not taking the risk. I don't want to go. This is like designed to be easy in, easy out, but then actually so alluring that you're like, wait, why am I leaving?
Yeah.
I should just stay. And that is by design. That doesn't happen accidentally.
So let's talk about the growth of Dubai. So in the 1950s, they were a fishing village with 20,000 people, which is insane to get.
1950.
I know. And you're in a position now where that as an idea is unrecognizable to the current status quo. Like it's absolutely wild. And so they're now in a position where they have 3.3 million people there, which is a 165 times increase in population in, 70 years. They must be building and they must be planning non-stop, always, continuously, forever. There must be no moment where that place sits still. And that must be in itself such a huge undertaking in terms of human capital and labor to build these buildings in 70 years. I think what I would say to everyone, and this is definitely how I think about Dubai, is obviously from our point of view now, we're not going in on the ground floor. You know, we're not there early, take advantage of everything. However, if you just look at how fast they've grown in what such a short time it is, and you're thinking, I want a place that's going to, pay me a huge amount of return in X many years, this is definitely the place. Because you could get in now, you could be involved in property or business or whatever, and in 10 years' time, it will be unrecognizable again.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, they're expected to grow their population to 5.8 million. So from 20,000 to 5.8 million, that is bringing a lot of people in. But the most important thing is like what type of people, what kind of people are you attracting into your ecosystem? So if you think about startup founders over the last 20 years, the dream in theory has been go to the Valley, go to San Francisco. Right now, I guess my joke there would be right now San Francisco is starting to resemble more of a fishing village. it's just in decline, right? And it's a really good example, empires rise and fall. The San Francisco empire has been driven by political decisions that have not been, and like a dystopian wealth imbalance, but that has driven
the homelessness crisis in San Francisco is insane.
Right, so it has driven that city into a really poor state of disrepute that isn't attractive to people that want to build big, ambitious careers. You go to Dubai, you barely see any litter. Everything is clean, it's shiny, like they take a no-nonsense approach. And they take pride in how their city looks. And, that's a decision. There are systems in place to say this is what we represent. And that makes it attractive to people. Again, you're going to move to San Francisco with your young family or to Dubai with your young family. Dubai's looking a lot
There's
more
no
popular.
chance I'd move to San Francisco.
No, me neither right now.
But there's no way I would do it.
But that's my point. Given the choice of the two, as a entrepreneur with a young family, which of the two makes more sense? Where do you think you're going to build more wealth? Where you're going to live a happier life? Probably Dubai right now.
It's more of a push because I have friends that have gone to Dubai in normal jobs and now they have like a full staff that supports them in their lives. They have incredible friendships and healthcare and they make a fortune. So it's like...
What's not to like?
So in the 1950s, we're a fishing village, a pearling, collecting pearls. And by 1958, the new leader, Sheikh Rashid, came in and there was a very clear pivot in terms of what they wanted to do with Dubai. And that was to create a city of the future. And most people won't know this, but they didn't actually discover the oil until after the vision for the city had been crystallized, which is, you want to build the city of the future and then you strike oil. Absolutely insane. The investment that they could then put into growing the city would have, gone through the roof.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because I think, you kind of got to be unlucky, I suppose, in the Middle East to not have a place surrounded by oil, but it's not guaranteed, is it? It's amazing that they'd have had this industrial vision for what they can do. And just also like talk about visionary founders, right? So Sheikh Rashid, imagine how crazy you have to sound to be like, we're going to do this thing here in a fishing village. 20,000 people, like the original people, they must have been like, this guy's nuts.
But it's amazing to think about it like a founder and like a pivot, because you would have to be, if you were designing a city, you'd have to be super intentional about the things I would need to make my city have to attract the best people in the world, because your city will be built by the best people in the world. And so they're not there. How do you bring them in? And so what are the things that they did to ensure that they had the biggest pull on talent globally for the last 60 years?
The thing I really love about this story, before we get into like Sheikh Rashid's vision, it's kind of like, you mentioned a pivot. And pivot's so typical in a startup founder's journey, right? But you kind of think of pivot's more like a tech founder. Yeah. There's part of Dubai that's kind of like this tech company startup vision around a city.
Yeah. And I suppose that, to the first point, I think was so fundamental to the vision that has made it become so successful, is recognizing that the pearling industry and the fishing industry would never have been enough to create significant economic wealth.
Yeah, it's not dynamic enough.
And even when they've discovered the oil, they don't want to become reliant solely on the oil, and therefore use it more as a tool to build diversification, to build infrastructure, and to effectively become a hub, in a specific part of the world that gives you access to so many different places.
Sheikh Rashid's vision really relies on three things. There's economic diversification, an infrastructure-first strategy, and the open trade policy. So these are sort of like the pillars, the core foundations that he sets out in his plan and galvanizes people around. So then infrastructure-first strategy, I'm going to get my notes up here so we can get this right. He initiated the Dubai Creek dredging project in 1959, which was a major first move. It focused on creating trade infrastructure before the demand existed.
Yeah.
That's pretty forward-looking.
That's long-term thinking.
Right, there's long-term thinking, and it takes serious investing, right? So he believed in the whole build it and they will come philosophy, which as a founder, you were always told don't do.
Yeah.
You were always told don't do that. That is the number one philosophy that is guaranteed to create failure. But if you are seriously visionary and want to go for it, you kind of have to you've got to invest.
If you've got deep enough pockets,
yes,
and you can create something that is of the future in the perfect geographical location in the world, and you know that you have the pockets to sustain the period, then you can create a hub of activity.
And then the third part, obviously, the open trade policy. So this is probably the thing that Dubai is most known for, I suppose. They maintained Dubai's traditional free port status, which kept taxes low. So
what does that bring in? Merchants.
Revenue, high-skilled talent, people that want to build, all the stuff that Britain is rejecting now.
You bring in the people who want to build their fortunes and build them quickly.
Exactly. It attracts foreign traders and businesses, and they create policies to protect merchant rights as well, right? So they're literally basically already laying down the foundations to say this is a city that means business for the future. These are the foundations. People like you and I look for places that welcome us with those opportunities. We seek them out, and Dubai nailed all of those. So they've made this pivot away from pearls, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But here's what's genius. They didn't just change what they were doing. They changed how everyone did business.
How so?
Well, they basically said, we're going to build the infrastructure first, right? Like a platform, we're going to build the basics down and the users will come. So in this sense, they made a big bet on themselves. They built out incredible infrastructure.
I think this is an incredibly big bet, but also at a time where this is pre-discovering oil. And so this is making huge financial bets, pre-knowing that they were going to strike oil, which I think contextually shows you the commitment to the vision of building the city, which is the big Dubai Creek project is before they hit oil. I think that's just insane.
Yeah, do you know how much that cost them?
I have no idea.
So £600,000, which in the 1950s was an insane amount of money, okay?
Yeah.
They actually had to borrow £400,000 from their neighbours to do it.
I mean, that's insane to literally dredge
Random creek.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Before you've built the city. It's absolutely insane. And, you're taking out a loan to build the infrastructure to then go and do your product. It's
and
wild.
Your neighbours are giving you the money as well to do this, and they're going, cool, what have you got? And they're like, nothing.
Yeah.
We've got no businesses. We've got no commitments. There's no one here. No one wants this.
Yeah.
But we're pretty confident.
Yeah. It's wild, isn't it?
This is the friends and family round.
Yeah.
This is the friends and family round, except the pitch is there's this creek
And I actually,
and no users.
I can't
and no
believe,
business.
I can't believe they got it.
It's
I
insane,
mean,
isn't it?
thankfully their
You
family
must be a
likes
good
it.
salesman.
Yeah, I mean, he must be the world's best salesman.
So that's their friends and family round. So
Yeah.
I guess what's their seed round?
Tell me.
So it's a casual little project called the Jebel Ali Port, which is literally the largest man-made harbour in the world.
Casual.
They don't mess around here, do
I mean,
they?
the shoe fits.
And the Series A is, we just found oil. So, literally, it's like the most magical startup story.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, Chris, what did your dad do when you were growing up?
He was an entrepreneur. He was a commercial property broker. So he helped brands find incredible properties.
Inspiring?
Incredibly inspiring. Definitely like best friend, most inspiring dude in my life. Definitely the reason my brothers and I are entrepreneurs, yeah.
That's nice. I'd say exactly the same about my dad, which is fortunate. He was in fashion manufacturing. My best friend, totally inspiring. Absolutely loved every minute I could spend with him, and absolutely the reason I'm an entrepreneur. That being said,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that either of these people are like, intimidating. What do you do, for example, if your father turns a 20,000 person fishing village into a global trade hub? Like if that was your dad, what kind of life would you be having?
My dad had built Dubai. I don't know if I would have ever worked.
I think it just inspires them to build bigger.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened in this story. So enter stage left his son.
Sheikh Mohammed, who effectively takes on the mantle from his father and says, hold my coffee. So obviously this is hot off the press for you and I. We were talking about this other day with the UK budget, and we're talking about how the UK has had, third most unicorns in the world, in London, in the last sort of decade or so. And that is such an impressive thing, and how we're super worried that will not continue in the same way. And I think when you look at this and the intentionality of this, I love this. So Sheikh Mohammed comes in with the D33 Economic Agenda.
What's that?
Which has economic targets, which are, and I love the ambition of these, double GDP by 2033, create 30 new unicorns.
I love that. So ambitious.
Yeah. And therefore you have to make the environment right for it, right? So double GDP by 33, 30 new unicorns, and attract 65,000 digital professionals. And I just love that because it's the intentionality around where technology is going, where the world is going. And so if you were to say one place in the world right now that a digital creator, new digital businesses goes, they go to Dubai.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond digital creator though, because that is thinking a bit small for Dubai. So their vision is kind of like around building unicorns. There's not many unicorns that come from the digital creator space as much as we love it. That's a really great lifestyle place, and Dubai is a great place to have a great lifestyle. But they're a bit more ambitious than this. They want to focus on fintech, the digital economy, space exploration, sustainable technology, AI, and robotics. Like these are serious industries of growth for the future. Another great example of diversifying way off oil. There's no fishing, there's no pearls, and there's no oil anymore. This is AI and robotics and space.
And this is basically what you and I were asking for the other day from our budget. Like, I want the focus to be on these things. I want fintech focus, digital economy, space exploration, sustainable technology, AI and robotics. I want the UK government to say, this is what we're putting all of our money and focus towards.
Yeah, Rachel Reeves, are you listening?
Yeah. Can you tax us more?
You go and look at somewhere like Dubai. They are taking a similar playbook to Silicon Valley, to London, to these other global hubs and saying, what can we do? So they obviously have something, they're golden visas. So the golden visa program benefits we'll talk about very shortly. But they have so much going for them in, I suppose, their narrative and also that sort of cultural movement, right? There's an energy going towards the idea of moving to Dubai. Do you know how much of their population is actually foreign?
I genuinely don't, actually.
85%.
I mean, it makes sense because if you're going to achieve all of these crazy objectives, you need to bring so many people, which is quite an abnormal thing, to pick up your roots from where you are and to move to a place like Dubai. You're not going to do it unless it's super exciting and motivating. And so you're going to need to draw to you an enormous amount of people. And so I just feel this intentionality is perfect. It's
also really interesting because if you think about immigration, immigration is basically the number one hottest topic on debates in America or the UK and Europe, because there just there isn't good thinking about immigration. What type of immigrants do we want into the country to suck up talent and intelligence and the best of to make our society better? And in Dubai, however they're designing theirs, they're going the other way. They're saying, immigrants, give us more immigrants.
Yeah.
85% of our whole entire economy is based on having the world's best immigrants
Yeah.
and turning them into proud citizens of Dubai, building the future. It's so
Like
interesting.
it really is my smartest and most ambitious friends in the corporate world and in the startup world who have gone.
So where does that leave me?
Exactly where you are.
London. Okay, so I want to join the ranks of your friends, maybe leave London and go to Dubai. The things that I need as someone going is I need it to be easy. I need to know that they're attracting the right people and that I can get there easily. It's not an enormous faff. So that's where this golden visa comes in, right?
Well, that's exactly what they've done. So they've made it so that you can have a long-term residency. So you can go and properly commit to a period of your life. So 5 to 10 years. And I think that's very important for young professionals, young couples to go. Like, how many couples do you know who have gone? For me, honestly, so many have left now and they have like a perfect life set up there. And so if you want those great people, which you do, you want young professionals in your economy, you're going to have to provide them with that. You don't need to be sponsored to get a visa. And so again, you don't have that sort of red tape and infrastructure problem that you have in so many other places around the world. And so the key is as well, obviously you can bring your whole family, and they are giving out so many of these. So 2023, they gave out 158,000 golden visas, which I think is absolutely insane.
Well, the other thing is when you're bringing a family, you only care about two things really, which is it safe? And is there going to be good education?
Yeah.
And it's a yes and yes.
Like healthcare, education, prosperity, basically.
Yeah.
And I think
You clearly care about your family more than I do. I only picked two.
Yeah.
Healthcare would be nice, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
healthcare is good, yeah.
I hope my wife doesn't listen.
But I think to your point earlier, and you made this point a lot about like migration, immigration, etc., is that you want the right people coming. You don't want you to attract all the wrong people. And so eligible categories are entrepreneurship investors, tech investors, innovators, scientists, researchers, outstanding students, and cultural and creative talents. And so you're just bringing together the most exciting, forward-thinking people into a city that's got everything that you need.
That's a key point there, because I think that actually a lot of people hear this stuff and they think about Dubai as entrepreneurs, investors, and money people, finance. Those are like very commonly the reasons that people say don't go to Dubai, because there's just about money and it's just about business. But actually, the intentionality is you invite the creative talents, you invite scientists. You're trying to literally create a culture, right? Like a 360 dimensional
ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, when designing the city of the future, you need to make sure that you're handing out visas to those types of people, because they will provide a lot of color to the city.
Totally.
If you think about designing a city like this, you've got to have the right structures in place for a whole bunch of things. But imagine what type of person leaves, say, London. You just mentioned earlier your family, the culture, the history, everything that's safe that we know about the UK. Imagine what type of person goes to Dubai.
Yeah.
On this promise, because that's kind of what it is. It's this promise of ambition. The promise that you're going to go and live in the city of the future and participate and contribute to that vision. It's the same kind of people that left to go to California from the Midwest, or went to New York. These are explorers.
Yeah.
People with ambition and ideas, and they're adventurous. And those are the type of people who create the future. They don't just perpetuate the past.
Yeah.
And if you think about then like you say, was 150,000 plus visas that are given out to attract the world's most ambitious and adventurous explorers who want to create new dynamics and new industries.
Yeah.
Just imagine the type of people that you surround yourself with there.
I suppose the advice, like I said, like if it had been up to me, my wife and I would have gone. And I think that I would say to young professionals now, or entrepreneurs who, if your life isn't moving at the pace that you want, like move where you are, like move to somewhere like that, and you will feel the pace around you. Because as you say, it's a very specific type of person that says, I will uproot and I will move to this place and I will accept these risks and I will challenge myself. And if you are that person, I would say why not? Because you can always come back. It's not, it's not like you're cutting off ties forever. I would give it a go. And
it's a big deal to move your family. It's not such
Totally.
a big deal to move yourself.
Totally. Like the second you get a family, a house, a mortgage, the second you get kids, your roots are just much firmer. And so if you can do it before that, amazing. If you do have a family, you can always move back.
I mean, there's so many things we haven't even discussed, right? They got these economic free zones. They got Ignite. I didn't even talk about that, just very quickly. You know, they got their goal with Ignite, which is a platform launch essentially to drive even more innovation. You talked about those 33 unicorns they want to do. So they got a plan for 100,000 startups. They're bringing in 5,000 VCs, 5,000 mentors, 500 corporate partners, and $100 million in perks. You know, they're already ranked the second in the Middle East in the sort of ecosystem.
Like young people
value.
go work there. Honest, like listen to that and go work there. I'm not even joking. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that in London. Not in that sort of proximity.
No. 5,000?
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I want to go.
I mean, I didn't even know there were 5,000 VCs in the world.
No, mental, isn't it?
Maybe they're all moving to Dubai and that's the thing.
Yeah.
So look, there's stuff that we haven't even had a chance to cover.
Yeah.
But I think the overarching point is if you are designing a frontier city, what are the absolute must-have ingredients? And does Dubai have those ingredients? Is it categorically right to land it in the same category as London, as San Francisco, as Venice? Is that reasonable? And I think on everything that we've been saying, like absolutely yes and more.
I feel like it's almost in a sense barely begun. Like I feel like the impact it's had on an ordinary person's life, the impact it's had on my life is that in the last 3 years, lots of friends have left for Dubai. And maybe in the last 5 years, a couple of friends went there before. But I feel like the next 20 years, you are going to see unbelievable growth from Dubai. So many more people being drawn there. And if you are thinking about starting an amazing business or building an unbelievable career, like it has to be the only place right now to consider.
I think the other thing that's about it is it's quite meta. You know, if you love startup stories, and you love innovation, and you love being around people who are adventurous and think about the future and basically think about possibility. You know, they drive each other in their conversations to think about what could be versus just saying, no, that's not possible. Everything about Dubai's story is just setting the scene for this like big vision, this big picture thinking, the idea that anything is possible. Look, if you can turn a fishing village in the middle of nowhere into like the epicenter of future vision, culture, architecture, business, finance from a wasteland in the desert, it is in itself evidence that anything is possible. So why not surround yourself with the kind of people who really think that's possible? You'd literally walk around the streets there and be like, I'm living in evidence of this being possible.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Dan.
Thank you for watching Secret Leaders. Please like and subscribe.